Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thursday. It is the Coffee Runs How to Thursday. And what I thought we would talk about and discuss today is the easiest way for you to come up with ideas for content. So we're talking social media posts, we're talking blogs, vlogs, podcast episodes, text posts, images, themes, anything that you think is really necessary in this digital world, being able to get your content out there. So the first phase of all of this is really you being super clear, first and foremost, around how, number one, you want to feel, and number two, how you want your audience to feel. So it might be empowered, excited, pumped, whatever that is, knowledgeable. Is there something that you want them to feel like an expert? Is it about feeling heard? What is it that you really want them to feel, and what do you want to feel? Good morning, Judith. Good morning, Catherine. Happy Thursday. So that's really the first part about all of this, is getting really super clear on that. Good morning, Kate. The next phase, and this is where we've talked earlier this week about really being clear on who your audience is, right? In a really big way. We talked about on Tuesday the disco ball and those different elements of you that they might be attracted to that are not necessarily initially related to your product or service that you're wanting to sell, right? So you've really got to know your audience. So I'm just going to assume, for the sake of today, that you know who they are. Specifically, you may have given them a gender, a family or not family, all the demographics, as well as the psychographics. Good morning, Georgina. Hope you're awesome. All right, so once you've got that really clear in your head, the next thing that I really want you to think about is coming back to what it is that you do. And this is the thing that I've found that most people get stuck on. It's the thing that I used to get really stuck on. So if you're feeling a bit stuck, you're not alone. It's okay. We're going to work it through. So I want you to think about your process. Now, most people's thing, product or service, it doesn't really matter, takes someone from point A through to point B, right? So I'm not going to mirror this today because I can't be bothered. So we've got point A and you take them over to point B. So usually this is where they might be feeling sad, they might be feeling stressed, they might be feeling whatever. And we want to take them over to feeling really happy, joyful, excited, fulfilled, overwhelmed, from overwhelmed to jazzed. I don't know, whatever it is. In hairdressing, if you're a hairdresser, you might take people from feeling drab to feeling really confident and loving their hair. If you're a graphic designer, you might have people feeling like they've got like brand shame, right, to feeling really confident and empowered to put their stuff out there. If you're someone who's maybe in the mental health arena, you might take someone who's feeling depressed or anxious to seeing how they can move through that so that they can feel really strong and build emotional resilience. If you're someone who is in the health industry, you might take people, I'm going to be very typical here, take people from feeling overweight, unconfident, lethargic with no energy and foggy to feeling really energetic, fit, confident, awake, and all of that kind of thing, right? So you get where I'm going with this, yeah? We take people from A to B. Now, a lot of people will call this the transformation that you provide. Okay, so most people know, yep, we go from here and we go to here. The bit that people get stuck with some of the time is actually articulating what happens in between times. So yesterday I spoke with you guys about taking people from dreaming about having this amazing business online that goes out there, that you're doing the work that you want to do, like dreaming about all of that, to actually shifting to really owning it, to feeling like a rock star. And I stepped you through the quadrants, right, that you work through in order to get there. So good morning, Christine. Happy coffee. Cheers. I haven't made my second one yet. You beat me to it. So my quadrants, this is the messy version, goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the piece that most people kind of miss when they're thinking about creating a marketing message or a brand story. Most people don't have a way of being able to actually articulate and break down that transformation. So once we know how to do that, it's going to give you like a billion ideas for content, for things that you can put out there. And it means that you're always going to be on message because you're always tying in to your transformation story for your people. So how do we do it? That's the $1 million question. All right. So number one, I want you to think about what is the very first thing that you need to take people through with your product or service. What's the very, very first step? So if you're a hairdresser, it might be analysis, right? If they really want, if you're a specialist in helping people to create a brand new look, then the first thing is like an analysis and working out what their goals are. If you're a therapist, it's probably, again, analysis, knowledge, working out where people's blocks are, right? So identifying that. If you're in the health industry, like if we look at a personal trainer or a health coach, that is probably the first thing that anybody, actually, in any business, really, you've got to work out first and foremost where your people are at. Now, my battery is running low. Hold that thought. Play some hold music. Do 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 do. SB, when you're doing the transcription, you don't need to sing the hold music. Just as an FYI. That's a bit funny. Okay, so the first thing is really identifying where people are at, right? So it's kind of like a check-in. So you work through that. Now, what I'd encourage you to do is go, all right, so that's the first thing. The first part is getting really clear on your goals. It's working out where you're at and perhaps identifying where it is that you want to go. Yep. The next phase is what? What is it for you in terms of in terms of what it is that you do? So if you're stepping people through a transformation process, we don't normally go, like we'll use a personal trainer as an example. We don't go, okay, right, we're going to analyze your goals and then next minute you're a CrossFit national competitor. You've got to step people through a growth phase, right? Through a growth process. So analyzing, get your goals really clear first. I think the next thing that you possibly need to do in that instance is to have a look at, maybe it's around nutrition, right? So you might also have a look at mindset. Might be one of the really big things in there. Yeah. So if you're looking at mindset and okay, so we've got your goals and that's great. Now we've got to have a look at your mindset. And now the next phase is actually all about taking action, putting a plan in place, being really clear on what happens and where you need to go and that type of thing. But that's only like, oh, we're not mirrored. Hang on. I am going to mirror it today. Gone and told you pork pies. All right, now I think I decided yesterday that it's easier to do it over this side. So we've got phase one is your action plan and getting really clear. Phase one is your analysis, setting your goals, working out any blocks, making sure that you're checking in with where they're at. The next phase in this example might have been around nutrition and mindset. The next phase, action plan, actually getting stuff done. What happens after that? So when I wrote my book, we'll use the book writing as an example. I had to work out, why am I even writing a book? And then I needed to really work on the plan, like the mindset, and getting really super clear on that. And then it was actually getting into writing it. But we don't just stop there, yeah? So then the next level up is, okay, well now we need to go through, so I'm just going to put writing in here. The next thing that we need to do once all of that is done is that you've got to go through the editing process, you've got to go through the printing process. It's actually the finished product. Okay, so that's an idea. For example, if we use writing a book, we've got the why you're writing it, work on the mindset, set out your plan, start writing it, get the editing process done, and work through all of that. So we don't stop there though, okay? Because if you stop there, then you just kind of, you've stopped. What we need to do is then think about all the different types of things that you can talk about, for example, in your first quadrant, yeah? So in the first quadrant, we've got goals, identifying blocks, checking in, and analysis. So if you were a personal trainer, the thing that I would be doing in here would be definitely do like a health analysis. You'd want to do a movement audit. I would probably get them to do a fridge audit. I would probably get them to do work out, what have they done in the past? What do they want to do now? I would have a look at values. I would have a look at, do they have any kind of like limiting beliefs and stuff going on in there? You definitely want to look at goal setting and identifying any blocks. What is going to get in the way of you actually making this stuff happen, right? So if I have my personal trainer hat on, we've got health analysis, movement analysis, fridge audit, values, beliefs, goal setting, identifying blocks, and that's 7, just kind of like off the top of my head, right? So that could be your whole first quarter's focus. I know it's only 8, so you've just got to come up with 4 other things to say. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, thanks for the reactions, guys. That's awesome. Hey, Jody. Hey, Tamara. Hey, Carl. Dad. Hey, Joe. All right. Good to see you guys. So that's how you then go, all right, well, I've got all of those things to say. I've got a focus for the week. I know what I need to talk about. If you go and do that, it actually also helps you to then structure the content for your blogs. It gives you a focus each week as well. So you can say, all right, well, this week we're talking about health analysis, for example. What are 5 different things that you could help people to understand? If you're a personal trainer and you're wanting to talk to someone who wants to get fit, who's feeling overweight, remember we've got that transformation from A to B. What would be something that you could help them with how they could do their own health analysis? So you might think of a couple of different things to talk about, and that can be the topic for your live, it can be the topic for your blog, it can be the topic for different posts. You can use them for your picture quotes, you can use them for text posts, you could use it for your podcast episodes, whatever it is. So the health analysis tips that you might give them is like, well, I want you to be aware over the next week, grab a piece of paper, write down do a bit like a food diary so that you can really take notice of how much processed food you're eating, right? Or how much sugar. Be really honest with yourself. You don't have to share this with anybody. It's just knowledge is power, right? So you could share that with it. I'm sure if you're a trainer, you can think of 5 things to talk about in terms of a health analysis. And then the next week, you can think of 5 things to encourage and talk about movement. Is this making sense, everyone? Please let me know. Good morning, Kathy. Thanks for the love. All right. We're going to assume that you are, that this is making sense. So we know that if you do it in this way, thanks, Tamara. If we do it in this way, where we map out first of all What is your transformation? What's the transformation process that you take people through from A to B? So they're feeling sad, they're feeling happy, they're feeling depressed, they're feeling happy, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling empowered, they're feeling lethargic, they're feeling energetic, they're feeling ugly, they're feeling beautiful, they're feeling like a sloth, they're feeling like an energetic bee. I don't know. So what is the transformation A to B that you take people through? And then we're going to work out, just because of the way that I've done this on the piece of paper, what are the 4 main sections or the 4 main steps that you work your people through in order for them to achieve that transformation? Okay? Once you've got the 4 main steps, you can then start to work out what all the topics are in that segment. So once you've done this, this gives you the ability then, in an ideal world, to actually, what am I writing on? Oh, good. Hang on a second. It gives you then maybe the ability to put your thinking and your transformational process into a model. Now, a model is a picture or a diagram that you can use to demonstrate your transformational process. So I'm going to do this, for example. Oh, God, that's really awkward. So we're taking people from feeling really, down here. God, this mirroring thing is hard. Taking people from feeling like really to up here to feeling like they're better than what they were, right? So they're kind of feeling a little bit meh. And then they come over here and they're feeling, look, you know what, we're getting some progress. This is kind of really moving. And then up over here, they're like, yes, I've got this. So your transformational process might go from here to here. Another way that you might do it, like it depends on where you have to work out where your stuff sits. It might be a bit more like you start out at the top. Right, at the top up over here, they're really sad, stressed, overwhelmed, depressed, whatever. And they kind of go around that way. Yeah, so we want that top right being the B, the point B, that A to B in your transformational process. So that's got to be that top right. Because if you think about it, most people have the future out over to the right-hand side, right? The future, the after, the whatever is over to the right, and the past is usually over to the left if we're thinking about timelines. So keep that negative, how they're feeling, whatever, over on the left-hand side, and keep the transformational happy over up in the top right. Kind of like if you were drawing an arrow with the sound effects, mind you, like we're going meow up over here. It's not very good color to use on a live. So if you do things that way, what you then can do, and this is where my content map can become really helpful if you guys haven't seen that. I'll show you mine in a second that I've got set up for next year just to give you a reference point. But what you can do then is, so this is all my thinking, right, on here first of all. So I did the 4 main segments, and then it's like, okay, well, what do I need to talk about in each thing? And as you're going along and you have these ideas where you're like, oh, I can talk about that, write it on a Post-it note and then work out where does that fit in my transformational model? Where does that fit in the A to B process for your people? Because if you can't make that Post-it note fit into a particular quadrant, then I don't really want you talking about it. right? Because it might detract from your message. It might detract from your consistency, your overarching consistency. Okay, does this make sense, everybody? Please let me know. While you are, I know you're about to give me some hearts and some thumbs up and give me some comments, because this has been really helpful, hasn't it? Yes, it has, Nicola. All right, so we've got my, just going to flip my around. I've got my transformational model sitting there. I've got the notes. Oh God, mirroring. Hang on, I'm just going to get rid of the mirroring because it's driving me nuts. Oh, there we go. That's better. So we've got the notes that I've just taken today, how this how this will translate into content. I've got this up here. So the first quadrant for me is around confidence. The second quadrant's around communication. The second one's around stage presence. And then the third one, and then the fourth one's around influence. Yep. So that would be quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Because I know that my people, to start with, are feeling invisible. And in order to get to being visible, oh, look, there's my cover of the book. We've got to go through the mindset first. Then we've got to work on your audience and being really clear on them. Then we've got to be super clear on the platforms and everything we're going to do. And then we've got to be super clear on how we then use all of that influence. Okay, so that's how it can translate. Now, thank you, Kate. I'm glad that made sense. Thank you for commenting upon my prompt. I appreciate that. So this helps you be on message. It helps you to really come up with 1 billion, that's the statistical number, 1 billion different ways for you to be able to communicate, for you to be able to create content, for you to be able to create blogs that are on brand, on message, on point, in a way that is relevant for your audience, because that's really important, right? Now, this doesn't mean that if you have an idea, so some of you might know I do a lot of energy work for people and for myself and for my family, as well as doing all of this, hard and fast business strategy stuff. So if I was to talk about an energetic clearing, I'd have to look at my quadrants and go, where would I talk about that? Maybe that is something that I could touch on in the energy mindset quadrant, but you know what? Maybe I don't talk about that as a big piece of content. I might just talk about that in a little text post every now and again, right? If I wanted to talk about personal training and being match fit, right? So I play roller derby, so much fun. So I might talk about that in the stage presence, like in that quadrant 3, because really for you to be able to get on that track and do what you need to do, you've got to be really rock solid certain that you can take a hit and that you can give a hit, right? So I've got to make sure that any ideas that I come up with for content, that it fits into one of those quadrants. So that's how you do that. Now, in terms of how I can help you with this, that you can download a free copy of that content map. You can print it yourself. It doesn't cost you a red cent. If you want a really big one, like what I've got it's dry erase, so you can write on it with whiteboard texture and then rub it off and change it and do what you like. You can find them on the website. But the book will help you with unpacking some of this as well. Yes, Tamara, getting it done like an energetic bee. I was thinking about bees like hopping around. They constantly like buzz, hop around from flower to flower, doing their little thing. I couldn't think of another animal. Kate, for you, it's literally 1 billion. Yeah, it is. It really is. Oh, the final little tip that I can give you around this, if you are an ideas person, right? And usually what happens once you get that and you work out what your, remember we did that before, like work out what that is, it's a little bit like the seal gets broken. You know, when you go out drinking and dancing and you go to the toilet that first time and then you have to go like every 10 minutes. Maybe it's just me, but you break the seal. You'll have loads and loads of ideas of what you can talk about, what you can write about. So what I want you to do is, if you decide, oh yeah, I've got this idea and it doesn't fit into one of those quadrants, all right, go get yourself a notebook and it will become your car park notebook. I can't remember if I've talked about this before. Your car park notebook is where all of the ideas that don't quite fit into the quadrant get written down, because it's important to honor the ideas, get written down and then put in a book for future reference later on, for future use later. If you decide that you're stuck for content, you can go and rip something out of there. But you won't be, because you've got like a billion ideas using all of kind of this stuff. So I trust that that's been helpful. Thanks for hanging out. It is a lot longer episode today. I thought it was really important, though, to go through the steps and for you to be able to really understand how your content ties in to your transformational process, your A to B, and then how you can break down that transformational process into a simple 4-step system. That's the other thing, actually, that will be helpful for your people to understand and for your people to know. So what this would do, as an example, just before we quickly wrap up, for those of you who are still hanging out, thank you. Your transformational process is taking people, stop. SB, don't translate that. So what you're going to be able to say to people is, I step you through a 4-step process that takes you from feeling overwhelmed to happy. What we do is we go through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, but really big picture, right? So for mine, it's like I step you through a really simple 4-step process to help you go from being invisible to visible, to take you from going stressed to empowered, from anxious to happy, right? So that's that. And then the 4 steps, if you really need to know what they are, the first thing that we do is we step you through, really how to stand out. The second thing is making sure that you're really clear on your audience so that they hear you and so that they feel heard. The third thing that we work on is all around positioning. And then the 4th thing that we look at is how to craft and create influence so that you can go from being invisible to visible. Right? I trust that makes sense. So it helps you to articulate your process. It helps you to create content. It helps you to get out there and help more people. It helps you to be able to draw pictures, because a lot of people think in pictures. It's just all of the awesome things. I need to go and grab a coffee. I'm sure you do as well. So I'm going to set you free about your Thursday. Tomorrow we have got Celebration Circle of Love Friday. I'm looking forward to catching you guys tomorrow. Feel free to shout out to my husband. It's his birthday today. It's a pretty big milestone one, and we're heading off away, the 2 of us, with some friends of ours for the weekend. So share the love, everybody. Get out there, go help some people. Most of all, though, get visible and have fun doing it. I'll talk to you all soon.